What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Charles, the face of trade tables, and we're here. If you saw that thumbnail, yes, we are correct. Azamina with Yubel, 11 negates or interruptions, however you want to say it. All right, guys. We got this spicy list that we want to show you guys, and the future of what Yubel can be. All right. We're gonna go with a mild rundown, real quick, of the new Azamina cards that we will be using. A quick skim over the main deck, and then we got two combos that I've been doing that I will showcase with this list. This is just template, not for sure. This is how the list will be, but pretty close. 50 card list. It is big, but the amount of starters that the deck has definitely makes up for it. A lot of 1 to 1.5 card starters with this deck. It just goes off. So, real quick on the rundown, Azamina cards. We have so there's two fusions that we use, and then two spell cards that we use for the new Azamina cards in this Yubel deck. All right, start off with the Azamina Mu Rislago, if that's how you pronounce it. It is a level 6 dark illusion fusion monster. Its fusion requirement is technically one illusion monster plus one light spellcaster. So you do have basic fusion requirements for it, but this deck, because of Azamina's own new fusion spell cards, you don't have to worry about that very often. All right, let's get on to the effect. The effect is monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense for each Azamina monster you control. So it mitigates, kind of like how Lacrima from the Fiendsmith did, kind of mitigates the amount of power that your opponent's monster is. So if you want to stick this to the board, it can help you run over problem cards, which is really good. All right, but the most important thing is that this card, which is once per turn, this effect here, which is once per turn, hard once per turn, if this card is fusion summoned, you can add one Azamina or Sinful Spoil card from your deck to your hand. All right. So this basically it's a searcher that allows you to get to Sinful Spoil cards, which we are playing a couple of them. As you see, we are playing Wanted, so like it can actually search Wanted and add it to hand, which is really, really good. All right. So it's a body that we'll be able to link off, and also, if it's destroyed, you can add a Sinful Spoils spell card from your deck to your hand. So, like, we just like, if it gets impermanent and they destroy it, you can still get that Wanted. You can get this new Sinful Spoils card too, which we will get to in just a second. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and look at my opinion, best card of the engine, and the reason why you want to run this engine is Azamina Ria Silvera. All right. So this card here, any battle damage your Azamina monsters do other than Azamina Ria Silvera inflict to your opponent is doubled. So it makes it so that if you have multiple Azamina monsters on the board, they attack other than Silvera, those monsters will do double damage. But that's not the important part. The important part, this card effect, which is a hard once per turn. All right, when your opponent activates a card effect or a card effect, quick effect, so that means you can do it on your opponent's turn, tribute this card, negate that effect, right? So we have basically another Phantom of Yubel like card for decks to play. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I think any deck that wants to play the Azamina engine can play it. Like if you're playing Fiendsmith and Azamina, you can actually put both engines into just about any deck that it can work with, and get yourself an interruption plus a Fiendsmith starting. It's insane. This engine, it's insane. You're gonna see it. All right. Next card we talk about is the Sacred Azamina, which is the fusion spell. Reveal one fusion monster in your extra deck. One Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck. Sorry about that. Then you can send one Sinful Spoil card from your hand or face up on the field for every 4 levels the revealed monster has. Which means that if the revealed monster has is a level 4 to like a level 7, then you just send one spell. One Sinful Spoil card from the field. Not like so. You don't have to send more than one. If it's level 8 to 12, or level 8 to 11, then you send 2, and then so on and so forth. I think they only have one level 8. We're not playing the level 8, so we're not going to go over it. So the only thing you ever have to worry about is having one Sinful Spoil card on board. The other big effect on this is that, which this effect is once per turn. So the fusion summon effect is not once per turn. This effect is once per turn. You can, if this card is in the graveyard, you can target one Azamina monster you control or in the graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. So we have the effect of fusion summon by sending the Sinful Spoils, and then the effect to add it back to hand, and the fusion summon is not once per turn, which means that if you add it back to hand, you can fusion summon again in the same turn. So super solid card, super solid card. It's basically it's basically Chimera Fusion, just not a quick play. So the other most important card, which is the 3 of, is going to be Sinful Spoils Deception. This is a new Sinful Spoils card. This one is a continuous spell. All right, you can tribute one monster from your hand or field. So in order to play this card, you do have to have a monster, unfortunately. All right, so this card combo, no matter what, is always a 1.5. You have to have at least a monster in your hand in order to make this card work. All right, you can add an Azamina card from your deck to your hand. So this is a searcher. It's a starter. It gets you to your fusion spell, and then because it itself is a Sinful Spoil card, which means that it can be used to summon the Azamina monsters from the extra deck. So this starts, searches this, then this plays to send this to summon one of these. All right, so that's really solid. The other effect, Konami is really trying to get us with these time cards. All right, so it says here, if a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard and you control an Azamina monster, you can make your opponent lose 1,500 life, and if you do, gain 1,500 life, giving a 3,000 life point difference just because your opponent sends a monster to the graveyard while this card is on the field. That is wild. So that's really crazy. One more effect that can come up if you guys are playing, especially if you're playing like a pure Azamina deck, or if you open multiples of this card during the end phase. If this card is sent to the graveyard because it was if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there from the spell and trap zone this way this turn while face up, so it has to be face up, you can set the card. So at the end of the turn, if it was face up and sent to the graveyard, you can set it to the field so that you can pretty much be able to reuse it the next turn. All right, so those are the cards. Those are the key cards. We're not going to go over the other ones, but just a real quick rundown on update. So the biggest changes is that we are playing the Diabella Star engine now. So we are playing one Diabella Star. We are playing 3 Wanteds. This is post Rage of the Abyss. So we do play the new Fiendsmith Lacrima. She is at level 4. Light Fiend that has the effect when this card is normal summon or special summon, you can send one Fiendsmith from your deck to the graveyard. I think that is the biggest, most important part of this card effect. Super good. The other effect is actually not bad. During your opponent's turn, if this card is in the graveyard, quick effect, you can target one Fiendsmith Link monster in your graveyard, shuffle it in the deck, and if you do, special summon that monster. So like it's not bad. It gives you a free summon of the Link monster in your graveyard, which is really solid. So you shuffle this card into the deck and then summon that Link monster. If you're playing the Link 3 for Fiendsmith, I think this is kind of neat because you can use it to special summon the Link 3 and then use the Link 3 to special summon like Desiree back from the graveyard. So if you're like you lost your whole board and this card is in the graveyard, like they Regeki'd your board or something like that, and this card is in the graveyard, you can basically use it to summon the Link 3 and then the Link 3 to summon back to Desiree and then equip it and then have your negates, stuff like that. So pretty good. Other than that, the Mulch Army, which everybody's going to be playing, so expect to have to play this card. All right, so we're not gonna linger too much more on this. Let's go ahead and get into the combos. We have 2 combos to showcase to you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with those. All right, guys, so here we are. This is the first combo. This, like I said, in order to play Deception, you have to have a monster in hand. So it doesn't matter what monster it is, as long as it is a monster. The other 3 cards in your hand don't really matter. Like, you will need them potentially for discard fodder, because, or at least 1 extra. I think this combo basically needs at least 3 cards in hand. So 2 cards in your hand won't even matter, but if you have at least 3 cards in your hand, you get the full combo. All right, so we're going to get started. You want to activate Deception and use the effect to send. You get your Sacred Azamina, and then reveal special. Okay, this is going to add you your Wanted. Wanted is going to add Diabella Star. Diabella Star is going to special and set you another Deception is what I do. All right, you put back a Deception to draw a card. Doesn't matter what the card is. Now we make Close Heaven. This is going to get us into our Fiendsmith engine. But before we get started on the Fiendsmith engine, keep in mind that this is only the 3rd summon now. All right, so we still are under Nib territory, and we're about to basically. So what's really cool about this card is that because it's a tribute. I think it is, right? We need a card. Okay, so you can basically reveal that this is a Sinful Spoil. So like the card, the symbol, it doesn't have to be face up on the field. That's I think the really cool part about this card, is that the Sinful Spoil card doesn't have to be face up on the field. I guess because you can also send from hand. So it's pretty much just like normal fusion mechanics. As long as the cards are there, you can pretty much reveal that that's the card you're using. So you don't have to have the Sinful Spoil card face up, which is really solid. All right, so here, boom. Now we have an Omni Negate. In 4 summons, we have an Omni Negate and a setup for Fiendsmith. So now, here we go. We just start playing Fiendsmith. And so this right here is the reason why we're playing this card. We no longer have to play Necroquip because we have this card. This card right here just dumps a Fiendsmith for you, and now we can just boom, put summon back, voila. And what's really great is because she also is a light fiend, we don't lose material requirement now anymore to make Desiree or any of the other cards by shuffling back for Fiendsmith, because we have that extra light fiend. Alright, so here we're going to make Aerial Eater. Aerial Eater is going to dump our Lotus. We're going to make Mudcracker, which will reborn our Lotus. And now we start full Yubel combo. Alright. So we do our normal Yubel shenanigans. If you guys know Yubel, you've seen me do like plenty of Yubel combos. Alright. So we make Phantom. So here in this particular point, there are 2 ways that you can do this. My personal way of doing this is what you're about to see, is we're going to end the board with Soul of Rage plus Escape set in the background. This helps you play around Dark Ruler, Droplet, stuff like that. So the other option here, so here, you have 2 things you can do. You can either link the Yama and the Yubel to make the Soul of Rage, and then you can bring back the Soul Eater and make Caesar, or you can do what I'm about to do, is where you link the Shavara and the Yama to make the Soul of Rage, set your trap card, and then let your Samsora Lotus come back and destroy the Yubel, so that you still have the same number of interruptions, just a little bit different. So and we set the trap, and then the Lotus will come back. We'll let the Yubel destroy itself, and voila. Okay, so normally, if you went the Caesar route, you wouldn't have these two cards. So that's these two interruptions are not there, but that would just the Caesar would just be two summon interruptions. I think generically, if you're not knowing what you're playing, I think this is personally the better route. One, because if their opponent's main deck in Dark Ruler or Evenly, you can play around it. Especially if they bait out your first negate, Omni negate. If um, and then if they're also playing like rogue decks, like flu or stun, and they throw out like a border or something like that that's preventing you from activating effects, mono and wado, whatever the situation is, this can answer it and pop the card and get it off the board. So like I think this is just generically safer than going for the Caesar. Caesar, I think, is only better if you know what you're playing against and you know that the Caesar will stick better than the Unchained Pop. All right, so this is the board. We have one. I say this is about 3 interruptions, so 4, 5, 6, 7 interruptions. And because you pop the Solar Rage with this, you can actually grab back the Spirit of Yubel and be able to have battle interruption just in case your opponent gets through your board and is able to attack. So you can survive and make it to the next turn. All right. So that is combo number 1. Let's go ahead and get going with combo number 2. All right, guys. So with combo number 2, we're pretty much doing the same thing, but this time we don't have to dump the Lotus to start combo. So this is if you start with Lotus or Throne in your hand, or if you're playing like 1-for-1, something like that, like anything that'll get to the Lotus in the deck and it's already in your hand, you can do this combo instead. So as usual, we're gonna do the full Azamina start. And we get our wanted get the Star. The Star is gonna set, we'll draw a card first, and then the Star is gonna set another Deception, link. All right, as back, and now we put our Omni on the board. Okay, now we go Fiend Smith. We dump the Engraver will come back. All right, and this is where it pivots differently. So instead of making Aerial Eater, because we already have the because we already have the Lotus, we will make a Desiree here. All right, so because now with this, we already have the Omni. So your opponent, no matter what in this position, is gonna need 2 hand traps for Nib. They're gonna need Nib plus 1 more hand trap, probably like Veil or Imperm, pretty much in order to nib you. All right, at this point in time. Okay, and then because you had so much to play through, and then if you open cards like Crossout, just makes it that much easier to potentially crush them. All right, so from here, now you just normal summon the Lotus and you start your Yubel combo. The Yubel line will pivot just a little bit as well, a little bit different because we went with the Desiree play. And we want to take advantage of having that extra Link 2 body on board. So we'll make the Yama, we'll get our Search, we will then summon a Phantom. All right, and then from here, this is where it changes. So here we're gonna go with an Unchained Abomination. I actually really like this card in this deck because with playing Escape, it gives you an extra pop. It also puts a threatening body on the board that they have to answer outside of all your interruptions as well, because if they leave this on the board and don't answer it, then it becomes a problem card and starts to generate advantage on its own at the end of every turn by popping cards and getting rid of things off the board. So this card can be a pretty big threat as well. All right, so from here we're gonna equip. We'll bring back the Spirit. We'll pop it so that we can summon Yubel, and then we make our Solar Rage, and then we set our Escape. All right, so that is the board. This is what I'm talking about 11 interruptions. So from here we have 1 interruption here. We have technically a 2-card negate, so that's three interruptions. All right. We have this card, which is pretty much a removal of a body to an SP, which is 2 bodies removed, and then SP second effect, which is 3. So that is another 3 interruptions. So we had 6 interruptions here. We have this card, which is if a card is popped, uh, it will pop a card on the board. So that's an interruption. And at the end of the turn, it'll pop a card on the board. That's another interruption. So now we're at 8. We have 8 interruptions here. We got here number 9, and then this number 10. Right? Here's the spicy part. All right. So when you use this card to pop this, if you add back your Shavara, right, after you've used the negate for your Desiree and your opponent's still pushing and they've pushed through almost all of your board presence here, you can actually Shavara pop the Desiree, sending it to the graveyard and trigger Desiree's effect to remove a card, to send a card on the field to the graveyard, giving you a 11th interruption. That's 11 interruptions on this board, layered in very different ways. This also allows you to play around Dark Ruler, which means that even under Dark Ruler, we're looking at the potential of what this here. So we have this one. This will come back 2, 3, 4, and you have the Shavara in hand to pop this. Still 5 interruptions even under Dark Ruler. All right, guys. So tell me what you think. Tell me you think this is worth. If you think the Azamina engine is worth playing in the deck. I'm actually enjoying it. I've been testing it a bit. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun. I think it gives the deck a huge boost, not just Snake Eye. So the fact that you can like literally start your combo now with an Omni Negate is huge. This engine is crazy. Konami keeps printing broken, busted engines and handing it up to us to play with. So we're gonna take advantage of it. All right. So, as always, like I said before in the beginning of this video, please like and subscribe. Lets me know that you enjoy this content. And this is your boy Charles, the face of Trade Tables, signing out. Peace.